Hi, my name's Leo, and I'm on a mission to sail this boat, Tally-Ho, back from the Pacific Ocean to the UK to sail once again in the Fastnet race 100 years after she won it in 1927. There's all sorts going on in this video, some beautiful wildflowers, servicing a heater, job lists, fish, orca whales, mounting a vice in the forepeak, new friends, and fixing a water pump. But first we're going to learn about some dinghy anchoring techniques as we attempt to get ashore on Little Reed Island. So we've got the boat at a nice little spot just at the south end of Reed Island in the northern Gulf Islands, and this morning we're just going to explore this little island behind me. Alright, so we've had a look around the island and we can't find any sort of beach or anywhere that would be safe to leave the dinghy because it's all rocky all the way around. Now we thought this might be the case, so we bought a dinghy anchor with us and a loop of line, and there is a way of getting ashore on the dinghy and setting the anchor so that you can pull the dinghy out away from the rocks again and then bring it back to shore when you want to get back in. So we're going to do that and show how we do it.
You don't have to film the whole part. Like figuring out what you did here. Okay.
Well, actually it's important to note, because this is quite a long bit of line, we coiled it in a figure eight and then kind of lashed the figure eight coil to keep it in a figure eight so that it will run out freely. Okay, so we're in position and Marit's going to drop the anchor, and you can see that the rope is just looped through the anchor stock. There's no knots tied there, so the rope can run freely through it. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, it's on the bottom?
Yep.
All right, so now we're just going to row to the shore, letting out the loop of anchor line as we go, making sure not to lose the end of it. Okay, so the anchor is at the end of this loop of rope, and the other end of the loop are these two knots that make a smaller loop, and I'm going to tie the painter or the bow line of the dinghy through this smaller loop just with a bowline. Oh, my tea, I left my tea on board. Rookie error. For some reason I'm doing this all with my camera kit and drone hanging off me. Okay, alright, so now I've got my tea and I'm just going to push the boat out and keep hold of this loop, and then I can just pull one end of the loop and it'll pull the boat out to the anchor. Okay, I can feel some resistance on this end that I was pulling now, so I think it's all the way out. So now I just take both lines and tie them off somewhere on shore. So this is actually the first time we've used this setup. I kind of just put it together, and I think I'm realizing that I would prefer a longer loop because the dinghy's not very far away from the shore, which is okay, but there's not much to tie this to. Because we're not going to be here very long, I'm just going to tie it to this bit of driftwood. If we were here for longer, I'd figure something else out because the tide eventually will come up beyond this point, which would be a problem. But for now, this will be just fine. Also, this is a pretty simple setup, which works fine for short periods or if there's not a lot of tide. But if there's a big tidal range, you'd probably want a slightly different setup at the anchor itself, because right now, if the tide comes up a long way, the boat might actually be held down by the anchor and the boat could actually pop the anchor out with its buoyancy. Basically, if there's tide, you have to have some slack in the system, and if there's some slack in the system, then you probably have to have the boat a little bit further away from the shore.
This flower is called camas, this purple flower here. And it is so special to see so much of it growing on this little island. Probably one of the most important plant food sources for First Nations and local indigenous folks to this region of the world. The bulb was and is harvested for food, and it's an important starch source. It's not recommended to harvest now for food because its environment and its habitat is so threatened. And also there's an extremely deadly lookalike, death camas.
Nicely done.
Thank you, I learned from the best.
Okay, so it's been a busy few days editing a video and moving the boat a couple of times, and I've got a lot of jobs to do on the boat that have been building up, maintenance and all sorts of things. So I'm going to show you guys the job list and how I keep them organized, and then we're going to get started on a couple of things. So I'm setting up the chart table, which also functions as the editing suite and the office, and right now I'm just looking at the job list. I've got this main job list here with sort of prioritized jobs of various kinds, and then I thought you guys might be interested in the scheduled maintenance list. And the way I've set this up, I think is pretty cool because it shows the last date each of these jobs were done. These are all sort of regular jobs that need doing every few weeks or months or every year, and there's a time interval on here, and basically it knows what date it is, and so it'll calculate based on when the last time these things were done, when they're due, and it'll give us a due date, and it goes red if it's overdue and yellow if it's very nearly due. So this is really useful for me to just keep an eye at a glance on sort of things I need to do in terms of regular scheduled maintenance. Right now we're doing pretty well, but there's a couple of things which are overdue. It is time to service the capstan again, and service the winches, and service the hydronic heater. So today I'm going to service the heater. So this is the combustion chamber where the diesel actually gets burnt to heat up the water loop. So part of the service is just to vacuum this out and then change the filter on the fuel jet nozzle thing. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, that's service done on the heater. Hopefully it fires up again now. I just connected it. Wasn't that much to do in the end, just replacing one small filter inside the diesel jet nozzle, and you know, vacuuming out the combustion chamber, and everything else looked good. Inspected all the hoses and clamps and everything, so that should be good for another 1,000 hours of service.
How did the heater go?
We're just about to find out.
Wow. Are you filming? Oh no.
What have you got there?
I got a Lincoln.
Wow, did he catch it?
No. It was a gift from a fisherman.
While Marit filleted the beautiful lingcod that we were given, I started the engine, pointed north, and we said goodbye for now to Little Reed Island.
Should I keep it?
No. Wait a minute, if you're down here, who's steering the boat?
That's a really good question. You want to go see?
Alright. So we're heading north and we're heading to a place called Pirates Cove on De Courcy Island. It's a very sheltered cove, so we're going to tie up there for a little bit. Not that we really need it because the weather is very settled at the moment, which is why we've been motoring today. There's been very little wind. It has just picked up a tiny bit just now, so we'll see. We might raise a sail, we'll see how it goes. Just saw some orca whales very close to the boat, that was exciting. And on the way to Pirates Cove, there are some really interesting cliffs with some amazing rock formations apparently. So we're gonna just kind of drive by them and see what they look like. Hey, Chip stowed.
Looks great.
Okay, so we did put the sails up, even though there wasn't any breeze, but we needed to dry them out anyway, so it's good. And the cliffs were pretty amazing. Now we're coming into Pirates Cove or Pirates Bay, and tide's a little low and this entrance is a little bit shallow, so and very narrow. So just going a little bit carefully here. Hopefully we get through. Feet.
9 feet. 8 feet. Oh my god, I just got a shot of adrenaline.
Just got through.
Are we gonna stern tie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, we were down below after anchoring, came up on deck, and our friend Will has turned up in his boat. So we're going to go say hi, see if he wants to come over for dinner.
That's good stuff. Turn one. Not gonna wait for you, Leah. All right.
Okay, so my next little job is a fun one, hopefully. I found this really beautiful Canadian-built vise on Facebook Marketplace for $50. It's Maple Leaf brand, which I haven't heard of, but it seems like it's really good quality, nice and heavy. And I want to mount it down here in the forepeak on the bench. But there's a couple of things. Sometimes it's nice to have a wide open bench space, and also sometimes I find myself wanting a vise on deck or even on the dock if I'm grinding metal or something. So I'm going to mount it just to this piece of timber. It's not going to be any beautiful woodwork, I'm afraid. It's just going to be rough and ready. I'm going to mount it to the timber and mount the timber to the vise with some wing nuts so that the whole timber and vise together can easily be taken off. Now I've got to cut the end off this piece of wood, and I was just thinking, well, it'd be much easier if I had a vise here. So I guess this thing is coming in useful before it's even been mounted. So I've got my 3 holes drilled to mount the vise, and these are the carriage bolts I'm going to use. A 1/2-inch carriage bolt. It's going to go through here and lock into the wood, but I don't want the carriage bolt to protrude like that. I'm going to counterbore it so that it's underneath the surface of the timber so it can lay flat on the bench. Now, if I'd been thinking, I would have counterbored first and then drilled the twist bit through, but I must be out of practice or something because I forgot to do that. And so now it's going to be hard. Here's my Forstner bit to drill the counterbore, and it's got a spike on the front, and that spike needs to dig into something to start it and keep it stable. But the place where the spike would normally go is now a hole, so it's going to jump around if I do that. So the other way to do that is just take a bit of scrap plywood. I'm going to just drill a guide hole with the same force in the bit. And once I've drilled that hole, I can use that hole to guide the bit, keep it steady. I can clamp the hole exactly over the holes I've already drilled, and that'll let me counterboard them. All right, well, the vise is mounted now. It feels really strong and really secure there. I can move it if I need to. The woodwork you just saw was certainly not beautiful, but it got the job done. It was a quick, dirty job, and now I can tick it off the list. And with the length of the job list and the amount of things we have to do before we head south, I just need to get through it. And I need this vise so I can work on other things. Now it's mounted and I can move on to the next job. And I do think it looks pretty cool up here. This area is going to be a much more functional workspace now with this beautiful, solid Canadian vise.
Put some seeds for the salad. We're boiling some water for your tea. I'm well, and this is my 40-foot yawl here and there that was built in 1930 in Chemainus. And thanks for coming aboard.
So you've had the boat 7 years. Like, how do you use it?
Well, I've been full-time liveaboard on it, and try to use it at least once a week or month, depending on what time of the year it is. There's obviously, it's an older boat, so it came with its own set of problems that had to be addressed. It wasn't too quickly, but they did get done, and now it's kind of functioning and able to cruise in the summers and try and work in the winter. This boat had a pretty extensive refit in the 90s by a very talented shipwright, Gary Colness. After that, it was kind of doing well, and the previous owner to me ruined the engine, like by destroying the transmission somehow, snapping the mast off at the jumpers on a train bridge, and then he got a woman pregnant. So that was all reflected in the price of the boat when I got it. I was able to sail it around for a while until I acquired a motor. There is a lot of work, but if you live aboard it full time, I think it's like totally manageable compared to a house. It's just varnish and paint and, you know, screws, nuts, bolts, oil changes, the usual. I was almost born on a flat bottom wooden, like 16-foot wooden boat. In that picture that's inside that you saw, that was the day before I was born. My mom was 2 weeks overdue, and that's the Cowichan Regatta. And then the next day they went out again, and her water broke at separation point. So I think I'll have this boat till I'm 100. No, wait, till the boat's 100? But it's been, 7 years, and then it's 5 more years till it's 100. And it feels like there'll be a big push to get it there, because I've made things better, and then you start to see the things you fixed deteriorate, and the balancing act continues. Have some tea. If you want to get into boating, like, get a small boat and go out in light wind and see if you like it before you jump into it. And there's lots of avenues to, like, get into boating, and there needs to be people to carry on these traditions, because a lot of these boats are disappearing and they're not going to come back when they're gone. So I hope there is a force of, younger people that realize the value in these things, because not many people care about an old wooden sailboat anymore unless it's perfect. Someone said perfect is the enemy of good, and they just have to be good, and they work, and they're very fun to sail. So I forgot the carrot.
Yeah. Damn, that looks good.
Yeah, it looks like the sunset now.
Okay, so we're back in the forepeak, partly because Marit is practicing fiddle in the aft cabin and I don't want to disturb her. But I'm working on the water system. Now, Tallyho's freshwater system, has been working very well generally, but there is a problem. Basically, it started last summer. There's a bleed screw in each pump. There's 2 water pumps, and one of the bleed screws got over tightened and the head actually broke off. Because we were out at sea, we actually glued the 2 pieces back together again using JB weld, which is really strong glue for metal, basically. And that actually worked for a surprisingly long time, but I never got around to ordering the replacement screws, and eventually it started failing and letting air in, and recently it sort of failed more completely and fell apart again. So I'm not going to try and glue it together again, but I do have another screw of the same size, but it's not exactly the same shape, it's just the same thread, and I need to modify it a bit. So that's what I'm going to do in the forepeak using the new vise. Okay, close. So these are the 2 water pumps, and this is the little bleed screw on each of them, and this is the one that broke. And the piece that I just modified, I basically modified it to give it a slot for the little O-ring to sit in, and just had to make it a little bit shorter and modify the threads slightly so it would work better as a bleed screw. I put it in now. It seems to be holding the O-ring in the right place and not letting any air in here, and seems to work as a bleed screw. So I think that fix worked. You want to come out?
Can I?
Yeah.
Great. You think you fixed it?
I mean, I think I did, but I also thought I did the last 10 times, so we'll see. Well, it's been really good to get a few little jobs done on the boat, and to be honest, I'm doing little jobs like these all the time, every single day, but I don't usually get around to filming them for various reasons. Often they're small, they don't make up a whole story for a whole episode. I'm kind of doing them in between other things and running the boat, and often I'm just so busy that I don't have time to set up a camera. But it's been fun to tell the story of a few of these little jobs, and if you've enjoyed them and you want more of that, please let me know in the comments. Or if you're more interested in the sailing, the boat handling, or maybe the people we meet and the places we see, let me know. I really want to know what you guys want to see. We're going to continue to sail north, fixing things along the way, and hopefully having some good adventures, so there'll be more videos very soon. But for now, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference. It means we're able to continue to sail and maintain this boat, and it means we're able to keep on making and editing these videos. So I really, really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Cheers.